Hello everyone. Now we will discuss in detail about the process of OER creation and what exactly do we aim with this open education resource. So we will be explaining to you a simple process flow which explains what the objectives of this particular exercise are, the way in which the OER creation has to be documented and recorded, and how it is going to be evaluated. Please note that open education resource, as said by OECD or OER Commons, are free and open resources that learners, teachers or researchers can use as well as reuse. So this is very important, use as well as reuse for purposes of teaching, learning and research. So they are digitized materials, and hence it is very important that you understand that why we are creating in the opens. So if you actually look at it, this document, the design document itself is in Creative Commons. It is clearly stated that if this presentation is released under a Creative Commons Attribution License 4, you are free to use, distribute and modify it, including for commercial purposes, provided you acknowledge the source. So whatever the content the educators typically create, it may be lessons, it may be some small ICT related applications, it is actually useful for a lot of others, and it is very important that we keep it in opens or in Creative Commons, and there is provision for scrutiny or a community to use it and evaluate the open education resource for its effectiveness, so that it can spread to more number of people. So this particular activity is actually intended for creating such resources that could be utilized by the community. And in this FDP, let me just give you some simple examples. So Professor Phatak had already talked about these two websites, GitHub and SourceForge. So in SourceForge you can see a lot of open resources that are available to us. So if you look at the about page of SourceForge, you can see SourceForge is an open source community resource dedicated to helping open source projects. So the goal is pretty clear. And similarly, how people build software, let me just go and look at about GitHub. So there is a huge community. So there is a 15 million people, 38 million projects which are in collaborative development workflow. So we are using essence of these particular projects. So in fact, Wikipedia, another excellent example for a commons project. We are using essence of these large scale projects to ensure that you do something worthwhile with whatever you have learned across the past 10 weeks. So let me just explain, give you a brief overview about the OER teamwork in FDP. The process, participants will work on creation of an open education resource as a team. There should be regular interactions between team members for creating the open education resource and assessing the OER. I am again highlighting this aspect. The assessment will be peer assessment and it should be done as a team, and hence it is very important that all the team members sit together, come to a consensus while both developing the resource as well as assessing somebody else's submission. Important thing in Moodle, only the team leader. So team leader, you have already identified the team leader in your group. So in Moodle, the team leader will be the person who will be submitting the OER and submitting the final scores of the OER. But all the members are required to create a document with a day-to-day log of their activities for OER creation. So Professor Phatak had already talked about a diary log of the activities. a similar concept is also there in OER creation. So the moment you start with OER creation, keep a day-to-day activity log of your individual activities, and all these will feature in the OER evaluation process. These logs have to be submitted in the Moodle assignment activity, your activity log for OER. So a Moodle assignment will also be there. This has to be done individually. So there will be an individual assessment which will also be looked in for the entire as part of the participation angle. So every user has to submit their daily log, a consolidated log for the OER creation. So what is an OER? So we have talked of a lot of examples. So Professor Pathak told about a quiz, it could be a video, it could be some other resources, a tutorial, an example, a process flow. All these are valid as OERs. So I am giving you, so with respect to this FDP, over the past 10 weeks you were familiarized with use of ICT, several different tools. You also knew how to do blended education, blended learning. All these were familiarized. So some of the example OERs that might be relevant for you. So we have come up with a set of 5 examples. There could be any number of such OERs, but let's look at some of these examples. Create 2 flipped classroom lesson designs for 2 linked concepts that is going to be implemented using Moodle. So remember the RC1 to RC3 assignments. You had essentially done this. You had filled the flipped classroom activity constructor for 2 linked concepts. So the only difference that I am making over here is I am just trying to implement it using Moodle that you learned in week 6. Then a second example, create a question repository along with its evaluation parameters. Prepare an online quiz that is going to be used for mid semester or unit evaluation in your own course using Moodle. The quiz should have both objective and subjective questions. So you were familiarized with Moodle, so you all know different activities that are possible in Moodle right now, and you were also formally introduced to the concept of Moodle in week 6, the different activities that are associated with Moodle. So this could be an interesting OER that you could create. Then create a sequence of a learning dialogue videos, so 6 to 10 numbers of not more than 10 minutes, and LBD activities for a module in their course that clarifies important concepts present in the module. So remember week 2 to week 4, there were learning dialogue videos and associated questions. So essentially the out of class segment of a flipped classroom. So if you create 6 to 10 videos and videos along with questions, that is a valid OER. That is a useful OER with respect to what you have done in this workshop till now. Create a course portfolio for your own course using Drupal or WordPress that will permit student submissions and reviews. So consider you want to make your course openly available to different people. So why not create a full website for your own course. So let me just give you a simple example. So this is a course that we are running in the interdisciplinary program in educational technology. So we have a WordPress website about the course. So here it says the details of the topics that are included in this. I'll just show you a blog that is. So this is the place where the students actually provided a lot of information. So you can see if you look at the recent posts. So every month some students logged their, introduced themselves, provided reflections. So all these have been logged as a WordPress website. So this could also be one kind of OER, open education resource, that is available to everyone. Now a very common example, create a set of PowerPoint slides and upload them in a website. So suppose you have a course and you want, you have created materials for that course, that is also a valid OER. Provide the appropriate licenses and upload them in a website. It could be your own personal website or it could be a community website, your own college website. That is also considered as a valid open education resource. Why it has to be uploaded in a website? So that others can access it. So A resource, just because it is in Creative Commons, does not necessarily mean that it is freely available to everyone. It has to be provided through some mechanism. So it has to be either uploaded in a website, or the link to the resource has to be available. So if you are creating videos, uploading in YouTube or uploading in a Google Drive or other video sharing mechanisms, all these are very important. So it's not, your job does not end at creation of the activity, it should also be disseminated. Now why are we taking such a pain or such trouble to develop such OERs? So consider this scenario. There are 3 different teams, team 1 from RC1, team 3 from RC3 and team 4 from RC4. Each of them are working on a same topic T, but team 1 is working on creation of quiz, let us say a Moodle quiz for the topic T in their same domain. Team 3 is working on developing screencasts for the same topic, and team 4 is working on building a course website for that particular topic. Now as part of the OER creation, each of them have created their own resource, and what we aim with this is, when we do peer assessment, let us assume that team 1 assesses team 3 and team 4's activity, team 3 assesses team 4's activity, and team 4 assesses team 3's activity. So this is how the peer assessment splitting has happened. So each one of them will be aware of the other team who are working on the same topic but on multiple resources. So if these resources are combined, let us say these 3 teams decide that let us collaborate and build a complete or an integrated resource for the topic T. So it could be that it could ultimately end up becoming a full website for topic T with videos created by team 3 and the quiz questions created by team 1. So all this is available in a free website. It is a work of team 1, 3 and 4, and it is a useful educational resource that can be accessed by any others. Important thing to note is that all of your OERs should be free of plagiarism. So you should not copy from anywhere. So if you are taking materials from different sources, please acknowledge the source, and you should put appropriate CC BY license to ensure that it is open source. You can check this website to see different examples of how to put a Creative Commons license in your resource. Now let me explain the objectives, the learning objectives that we have set as instructors for this particular OER activity. So at the end of working in this team project, a participant should be able to clearly articulate the processes involved in creation of the OER, design an OER that will be useful for the team in the coming semester, identify characterizing features of their OER, create evaluation plans to assess the utility of the OER they created, develop assessment skills to judge open-ended projects. And how are we going to assess these learning objectives? So there are 3 columns: expected deliverable, the aligned learning objective. So I have noted LO1 to 15. So each of these learning objectives, what is an expected deliverable and what are its assessment strategies? This is explained in this slide. For example, OER. So there is going to be a database activity in the Moodle where you are going to post your OER and marks will be provided for that. LO13, you have to provide tags for your open education resource. That also will be assessed using the same database activity. You need to prepare a detailed documentation of your OER. The upcoming slides will show what exactly are these sections, and also you have to evaluate your peers' OER. So submission and peer assessment, as you have done for throughout this workshop, it will be a peer assessment activity. Please note that we have acknowledged your cribs and complaints about peer assessment process, and hence we have taken additional mechanisms in this particular assessment to ensure that these could be minimized. One, we will be releasing example OER documents and the rubrics well in advance. So this will be released by Monday, so that the activity is, the due date for the activity is 25th July. So you have time from Monday till 25th July to ask questions to the team on various aspects of this particular activity. Second, we are recommending that you evaluate your peers submission as a group. So all the group members sit together, form a consensus, and then do the peer assessment. This will reduce individual error. So we recommend this to be practiced. On the whole, please note that we are also splitting out the marks so that you get sufficient marks for submissions. Your diary entries are mandatory, but your marks will be given for the details of OER. So suppose a team provides details of OER, they will get appropriate marks, which is going to be detailed soon. So we have tried to ensure that your marks are not getting affected or your grades are not getting affected, and also we are providing you time, sufficient time to raise your queries and clarify it with the team at IIT Bombay. Now these are mandated or expected deliverables and their assessment strategy. There are some desired learning objectives that we wish happens due to this process. One is that a community develops among similar practitioners of similar interests, and build a repository of OERs within their own your own RC. So at the end of this particular workshop, the RC aggregate all the open education resources that have been put up and put them in maybe a website, or they find their own mechanisms to disseminate the open education resource. So the document also has details of this. You can refer to the appropriate slides. So this slide will also be available in the IIT Bombay X and Moodle platforms for your reference. This is an overview about the OER creation process. In the upcoming slides, you will now see the detailed submission template and the evaluation strategies, and we will also describe the process that we are going to follow for this OER submission and evaluation. Thank you.